Yo, what's up everyone? My name is Andrew Warren, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about some huge news for Apple stock. And if we just take a quick look at my portfolio today, full disclosure, as always, I only own three main stocks that I've purchased with my own money, and then we also have this fourth free stock, but that includes Tesla, Microsoft, and Apple. And as you can see from the portfolio today, it was pretty much a really volatile day. We started out very low below the baseline in the negative, and then we had a ton of volatility just up and down across this baseline up until finally in the after hours, where we actually saw much more movement in the after hours than the normal market hours today. And that is all thanks to Apple stock. And I'm glad that I'm finally able to just purely focus a full video on Apple stock alone, because a lot of times I don't really get to talk about Apple stock as much in depth as I do other ones like Tesla and Microsoft. But what a lot of people don't realize is that Apple has been one of my best performers this year so far, and especially just over the past few months. I'm currently up over 40% for Apple stock, and that is the second best performer out of these three right here in comparison to Tesla, which is just really hard to beat at that plus 76.64% for the year. So Apple stock absolutely skyrocketed in after hours. We just started out under the market in the negative, and it just gradually increased over time until the aftermarket hours, where they finally had the earnings announcement. And one thing that I have really been emphasizing throughout many of my videos when I do talk about Apple stock is that I think analysts are just out of touch with a good fair value on Apple stock. In my opinion, $240 may have been a solid fair value last year or the year before, but Apple is just way past this point. And with analysts giving Apple stock such a low fair value, I just think it's honestly unfair, given the fact that Apple is very profitable. They have tons of cash on the sidelines, and we'll get into those tweets announcing that in just a second. We have an absolute ton of news for today for Apple stock, but like I said, they have a ton of cash on the sidelines. They have really solid gross margins, and they also consistently beat earnings, as seen right here on the earnings chart. So with all of that being said, let's go ahead and jump into why Apple stock skyrocketed for today, and especially in the after hours. So if you don't know already, Apple was supposed to have their earnings release announcement for today in the after hours, so after the normal market hours closed. So let's go ahead and see what was announced in this earnings call. So first off, we have a few tweets by CNBC Now, and as it says right here, this tweet says, breaking: Apple announces 4-for-1 stock split effective August 31st. So considering that the stock price is around $400 right now, that means that once this stock split occurs, that Apple stock will only cost around $100. And then I also believe that means if you own many shares right now, then one share that you own right now will likely turn into 4 shares after this stock split. I believe that's how it works. But basically, it doesn't affect anything whatsoever other than just like the price of Apple stock. So fundamentally, it changes nothing other than the fact that it helps people that don't have access to fractional shares. Like, for example, if you don't have fractional shares enabled on Robinhood currently, then it just makes it more affordable for those individuals to buy Apple stock. So honestly, there is the potential with a stock split like this for more people to buy Apple stock, because it automatically makes Apple stock much more affordable to those investors that are looking for stocks, around the $100 price tag to invest in. So it really helps it be a lot more affordable for those people. And as I've heard with Tesla stock from many people that would love to invest in it, their issue is that they just don't have access to fractional shares. And yes, you can create another account, but some people just prefer having it on Robinhood, and they just don't have access to fractional shares just yet. And I've heard many people say they'd love to invest in stocks like Tesla, but they just can't afford it. So when you have a stock split like this, especially with Apple, it could help a lot with the affordability issue. So this could be a good thing for Apple stock, in my opinion. I'm definitely not opposed to this. And then also, we have some other crucial tweets here as well, where it talks about the earnings reports. So Apple earnings per share actually beat expectations at $2.58 per share versus the expected estimated $2.04 per share. And then their revenue was $59.69 billion versus the expected estimated $52.25 billion. So they really did smash expectations. And then also, here's the announcement as well of Apple having $193.82 $52 billion in cash on hand. So if Apple really wanted to acquire another company or deal with an acquisition right now, they definitely could because of so much cash that they have on hand, and they can also weather through many other lockdowns. I think Apple would be completely fine if there was like 3 years straight of just nothing but lockdowns, because they have so much cash on the sidelines compared to many of these other businesses that are really on the fence of failing or succeeding right now because they don't have that security of cash on the sidelines, and also their businesses are struggling due to the Rona. And then as it shows right here, it says Apple shares surge after blowout quarter, 4-for-1 stock split announcement. So we have a combination of all of these positive aspects of news that led to this big increase in share prices. So let's go ahead and check that out once again. As I said earlier, we've broken the barrier of $400. I honestly thought it would be a little bit more difficult for Apple to break that barrier, because when you hit like a milestone number like this, whether it's $300, $400, sometimes there's a lot of resistance until you finally get past that point. So it was interesting to see us just totally break through this $400 number. And now that we've broken through it, even though there could be a pullback in the future on this stock, it's just that psychological factor of the fact that we've already been at 400 and over 400 to where people may be more likely to buy in the future. And with all of this being said, let's go ahead and check out another article talking about earnings more in depth. So this article is from CNBC by author Kif Leswing, and it states Apple posts blowout third quarter with sales up 11% despite Rona disruptions. So with the fact of Apple being up 11% in a Rona situation, a quarter that has been heavily impacted by the Rona, I think that's very impressive. And this continues to prove why I'm bullish on Apple, even though I've said before, the quarter-to-quarter movements don't always make a big difference for me. It's what happens in the long term that matters. But I feel like this quarter's performance just proves the long-term possibilities of Apple. So key points of this article, it states Apple reported a historically strong quarter for the company on Thursday, including $59.7 billion in revenue and double-digit growth in its products and services segments. Then in addition to that, it says the blowout quarter comes during a period in which Apple saw its operations disrupted by the Rona, including many store closures. So this is something to keep in mind. Apple managed to not only outperform expectations, but they managed to grow in a quarter where many other businesses are hugely negatively affected. And then also it states Apple's business is highly seasonal, and its revenue was the highest the company has ever reported in its third quarter, up 11% year over year. So this is a very impressive point right here alone, just talking about how Apple is continuing to grow, and especially like I said, in a bad quarter like this, it's just really impressive in my opinion. And then right here, it also discusses the stock split more in depth. So it mentions that it has announced plans to give investors 3 additional shares of Apple per share that they own at the end of August. So like I said, if you own one $400 stock share right now of Apple, then you will now have 3 more per share that you own after August. So, it doesn't really do anything in terms of making you money, but at least that means if you have a lot of Apple shares right now, you'll have even more in the future because the stock is being split up from what it's at currently into 4 more stocks. So that means that you will own 3 more shares by the end of August per share that you own right now. And then right here, it talks about the numbers more in depth in terms of analyst expectations. So as it said right here, earnings per share was $2.58 versus the estimate of $2.04. Revenue was $59.69 billion versus the estimated $52.25 billion. iPhone revenue was $26.42 billion versus the estimated $22.37 billion. And then services revenue was $13.16 billion, which is just slightly less than the estimation of $13.18 billion. And then Tim Cook also released a statement right here. As it says, he stated, "In uncertain times, this performance is a testament to the important role our products play in our customers' lives and to Apple's relentless innovation," Apple CEO Tim Cook said in a statement. And then as it says right here, revenue was up nearly 11% year over year, and every major product line saw year over year growth, and that included services that was up 14.85% year over year, and that Apple remains on pace to hit the target of $50 billion in service sales in just this year alone. And then right here, it also breaks down the product line in terms of revenue. And so it says right here, other products revenue aside from Macs and iPads included $6.45 billion versus the $6 billion estimated number. And then for Mac revenue is $7.08 billion, which exceeded the estimate of $6.06 billion. I think that's relevant right there and very important. And then also iPad revenue, which exceeded estimates at $6.58 billion versus the estimation of $4.88 billion. So iPads are becoming pretty popular. I'm actually surprised at how many people actually use iPads. I'm just one of these people that prefer using my phone, but my parents love using their iPad. Even my dad, who is like not very technologically capable, he loves using the iPad. And then you also even have the finance YouTuber, Financial Education, and he talks about using an iPad all the time. So there's a lot of people out here that use iPads that I wouldn't really expect them to. I guess I just expect a lot of people to use their phones instead, but it just shows how relevant the iPad still is. And I think people appreciate having a larger screen like that for different capabilities, where it's almost like a desktop for your living room, but just a little bit more mobile. And then gross margin was 38% versus the 38% estimation, so right on point with that one. Solid gross margins. And just to provide you all with more information, as it says right here, the stock split is the company's fifth in its history, and it is previously split on a 7-to-1 basis in 2014, a 2-to-1 basis in 2005, 2000, and 1987. And then Apple has also mentioned an 82% cash dividend payable on August 13th. So absolutely a tremendous amount of news today. This is probably one of the biggest stock market days of this month, just in terms of like news for a specific stock that is popular. So we got a tremendous amount of news. You know, we have the stock split announcement, we have them excelling and beating earnings, and then we also have the announcement of a dividend of 82 cents per share on August 13th. Definitely excited about that, and honestly, to keep it real with you all, I am debating buying some more Apple stock sometime in the near future, and especially as it does get a little cheaper, not necessarily cheaper, but just as the stock split happens where it's only $100 per share, then I may buy a few more shares of that, because I would like to add a little bit more Apple to my portfolio. It's definitely one of those that continues to perform well, so I really don't see an issue with me buying more shares right now. Like I said before, I just completely ignore that fair value because I don't think it's relevant. I think it's just out of touch with reality in terms of an underestimation when you look at all of the benefits and the positive things going on in Apple's corner. So anyways, I hope y'all enjoyed this video. If you did find some of this information useful, please make sure to smash that like button. It really does help me out. And also just a big shout out to Apple and Tim Cook, Papa Tim Cook, saving the day with my portfolio. And also, if you would like to begin investing, feel free to use my referral link to Robinhood and Webull in the description below. If you sign up with that link, then you'll get some free stocks, and especially with Webull right now, they have a huge promotion going on. But anyways, I hope y'all enjoyed this video, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your week.